Let us turn to Owen Paterson, who is, of course, Conservative MP, former Minister, keen Brexiteer, is on the line. Good morning to you.
Hello, Justin. Good morning.
Do you think Jaguar Land Rover are just making this up?
No, not at all. But I think what is good is that they are asking for what the government's asking. And it also happens to be what Donald Tusk said he wanted back in March. When Donald Tusk said, I propose that we aim for a trade agreement covering all sectors and with zero tariffs on goods. I mean, a lot of these stories, go back to the old Project Fear stuff during the referendum campaign, all assume we're going to have tariffs. The government's been completely clear. We want to have zero tariffs.
Yes, but hold on a second on that. What the government also wants to be able to say, and what a lot of Conservative MPs want to be able to say, is that no deal is still an option. And what Jaguar Land Rover are very clearly saying is that no deal would kill us. We'd have to leave the country.
Well, no, I'm not quite right, Justin. I don't think so. I think what they're saying is no deal automatically means tariffs. It doesn't. Also,
well, hang on. Surely it does. It has to.
No.
Why not?
If we go to World Trade terms, we decide our tariffs. We can have zero tariffs.
But the European Union would have tariffs on our stuff when it went across to them.
Yep. If you look at studies of the car trade, it's robustly competitive and profitable at the moment, and that will continue because we've had a significant devaluation, which is a lot more than the tariffs anyway.
But they would have significant friction. Sorry to interrupt, but it's such a crucial point, isn't it? It's the friction. Never mind the amount of the tariff, the amount of fuss getting stuff to and from. And in a no-deal Brexit, that would have to be there, wouldn't it?
No, that is illegal under WTO current terms. The latest WTO trade facilitation agreement insists that both sides must have a seamless, i.e. effectively computerized, as now for the rest of the world, procedures which are effectively costless. But you just cut me off the key point. The reason why it is very much in Jaguar Land Rover's interest, and they're massively important. I'm speaking to you from Shropshire. They're incredibly important. They're plants in the West Midlands, on the Merseyside, the huge number of suppliers. Everyone's incredibly proud of what Tata have achieved, turning them around. This enormous investment. Only 10 days ago, they agreed to put another 20 billion in, which I don't think you covered on your programme. But what is really vital is that they will be better off if the government delivers on what the Prime Minister promised me in the Commons yesterday. If we really do leave the customs union, hang on, really important this, Jaguar Land Rover will have access to cheap parts and components all around the world, and the European suppliers currently will be forced to compete, or they will lose Jaguar Land Rover's business. And all the studies show the car trade is very robust at the moment. It is profitable, and that will continue.
We heard from Sir Mike Rake earlier in the programme, the anti-Brexit campaigner, it's fair to say, isn't it? Former BT chairman. He says business hasn't been listened to. Is it being listened to now?
Yes, of course it is. The massive public debate. You've got it on this one. It's been going on all week. But I think what is really important is for business to get behind the Prime Minister. She has said all along she wants seamless free trade. We don't want any tariffs anywhere. And under those conditions, a newly independent UK outside the customs union, outside the single market and outside the ECJ, as she promised yesterday, will have access to the world. And our current European suppliers, who we value a lot, will have to compete on world terms. And that will bring prices down for every business and every single family.
And talking about
hang on, how really important is you always have on your programme, you're always having producers mainly interested in the 12% of GDP which goes to Europe. The 88% of the UK economy has nothing to do with exports to Europe. And the other point is that Europe is not growing as fast as the rest of the world. Look at Jaguar Land Rover. The fastest area of growth last year was China, 23% growth, 146,000 cars there. But very, very importantly, hang on, they built 80,000 cars in China last year. Jaguar Land Rover are not standing still. If we don't make the UK world competitive,
but they're doing all that. They're doing all that within the EU. It's fair to say, isn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly the point I'm making. So Jaguar Land Rover are not static. They've just opened a brand new plant in Slovakia, which is going to build 150,000 cars a year.
Let me put you. We're slightly running out of time. Look, we're slightly running. Can I put you on the subject of backing the Prime Minister? Do you back the Prime Minister on this third way, the facilitated customs arrangements, so we stay in regulatory alignment with the EU when it comes to goods and we collect the external tariff on our borders and hand it on? Can that work?
Well, this is yet another leak which we haven't seen. I go with what she told me in the Commons yesterday, that she wants to leave the customs union, leave the single market, leave the ECJ, and have the ability to do free trade deals around the world. And very, very importantly, buy components which will massively help Jaguar Land Rover as it grows its exports to China and other markets.
So, Mr. Paterson, you do not believe that it is feasible for the government to go to Europe and say we want to stay inside the single market for regulations on goods, that is not something that would be acceptable to you?
I don't think it's feasible for the government not to deliver the verdict of the referendum, which is endorsed by 85% of the votes of the Conservative and Labour parties in the general election, to leave the customs union, leave the single market and leave the ECJ, because that will put Jaguar Land Rover in a wonderful position to compete worldwide, because it'll be able to buy components cheaper around the world. It will drive down prices of its European suppliers.